Hey, Happy New Year, and welcome to the Illustration Block, Spectrum's Twitch channel. And I'll be your mentors here at CG Spectrum. So, what I'm going to do to finish what I started, painting from Twitch, and then move into study. So these are the kind of things I have some of my students do, new to the stream. CG Spectrum's Twitch channel or YouTube channel or wherever you might be streaming this. Typically like to have my students do value and color demos, practice digital painting, strengthen their understanding of value and color. So instead of working on an entire head or focusing on a rendering of an entire body, I am calling this series, or call this series, Pieces of a Whole. Work on pieces of. So it kind of takes the intimidation factor away from some people that are learning how to paint, that might feel overwhelmed by having to draw or paint entire face or body, and just focus on a single aspect, whether it be eye, nose, mouth, stuff like that. So, but today, are a student of Spectrum. This reference was posted in the general DigiPaint, along with the reference I'm going to be after this. Welcome to join along or paint after this session, or sit back, grab a beverage of choice, and just watch me paint. About it. Doing for the next 2 hours is painting pieces of faces. Anybody has any digital painting or art related questions, post them in the chat and see it, respond. Otherwise, I am going in the room with me. Hey, Carl Springer, hello. Right. Pop out this. Tabs right on the screen. All right, perfect. When I left off with this, I was just nose, the face. Over the course of this 500 brush list here, but I discovered the texture, the type, the brush quality that you get with 100% depends on settings. Nice, but it's not what I kind of like. Kind of texture kids toy. Boom, chew toy, dog toy. Really like that. It took me a minute to figure out, remember what brush it was. Really almost therapeutic quality, relaxing, calming quality painting. You have the ability to make art. It's a wonderful, especially a room. Hopefully, close a door, sit and have even a few moments at not have to think. Stay balanced. Have the news make you up. Doodle this. goal to finish what I started. Whenever I do, I always regret not. It's all practice. I'm doing a quick check for my values, sure that I'm seeing faces differences. Now the highlights could use a touch, but that's there. Ah, I'm Jiggy. Hey Jiggy, welcome. All right. So you're asking, how did I pick? um. All right. So let's dive in. Painting convincing black skin. Not a lot of. There really isn't. Um, and I'm not gonna go why that is, because we. But let's walk through it. Okay. So if you can see here, I have this little value chart, right, on the side of my screen. I have my values from 9 to 1. Value 10 being white, value 0 being black. So this is my value range. Now, when you're painting black skin, you know that we come in a variety of different shades. And the temperature, the color of the skin is one dependent on the type of light hitting the skin. Okay, so right now I'm under a color corrected light bulb, so it's producing a dim, pure white light above my head. Now, if I were to be in overcast lighting or outside on a sunny day in the middle of the summer, then the intensity, the color temperature of that light is going to affect the color temperature. So it's going to be a warmer brown, warmer highlights, yellows, things like that, oranges. So, I mean, we can basically start within a range and say that anything, I look at it numerically. I'm going to try to explain this to you in a way that hopefully makes sense. But on my So for Caucasian skin, depending on how light or how fair they are, their skin tone ranges from a value 9 to a value 5. So the darkest shades on their face, under the eye sockets, shadow side of the face, and all that stuff would be in that value 5. So they are from the highlights on their face, the cheek, and all that stuff was within value 9, 8, 7. But for darker skin tones, the highlights on the face start a little. The highlights on the face, the midtones, the shadows on the face start at a value range that begins at around value 7. I know this might seem crazy, but this is how I was taught. This is how I understand it, and how I apply it. So, if you know, I can show this to you. Turn on this, and we can see that so you can see that the highlight on the skin is around that value 7, value 8. The midtones for her skin are around like a value 5, value. I can just take this chart really quickly. This is really like a, might be, I don't know what your level. If we look at this, we can see that the highlight on her nose, moving the chart directly under the value, is within that value 8, 7. The mid-tone highlight on her lip is in that value 7, value 6, right in here. But the shadow tones, face, are within that value 3. The mid-tone, the shadow side of her face here, within that value 3, value 2. With shadow in her nose being between a value 1 and a value. Now, if this were Caucasian skin, actually, let me call that up so that bring one of those, my references. So value range here is a little. Now you can see that the value range starting highlights on the forehead and all that is within that value 8, value 7 range. Midtones on the face are between value 6, value 5. But the darkest forms on here are under the eye socket, being between value 3 and value 1. But everything else on this face is within this value. No darker than value 5. Whereas on this woman, the value range starts for all the midtones on her face are between value. Now, when it comes to actually choosing the color, I'm choosing it based on what the value is. So I have the a color equivalent to this gray tone bar. So I'm just basically choosing like a corresponding value of brown, like a value 3 brown, value 4 brown, or value 5 reds and all that stuff. And if you have any background with traditional painting, you know that you mix a warm yellow or a yellow ochre, burnt umber with either a cadmium red or alizarin crimson or something like that, plus white and blue or something like that. You can mix those colors together to get a flesh tone. So what I would basically do is look at this, then at the overall temperature of its face, and I can choose the value of gray, the brown gray tone equivalent, painting it. Now from there, once I have this base kind of mid-tone, I can really start to adjust it. Now that I know what this value is, I can come in and I can start to paint into this and create form. I just start off by just laying in these values and building it up and building it up and playing with it. So this is now the entire value range for this piece in like a local color. It's pure color, unadjusted by what the temperature in the room. So I don't know if this really answers your question, because and kind of hard to express this without actually doing a demo for you, but I think this is probably as close as I can without not following. All right, so let me try explain mathematics. How would I explain? All right, so what is your background? Are you just doing digital painting, or do you have a traditional painting background? I'm trying to think of a simpler way to explain. Kind of need what's your understanding of art is. And I definitely locked something the way you blend the blue in. No, it's. I mean, I don't want to make you feel like behind. Okay, so I think in the last stream I might have talked about the process of color matching and all that. Um, but one way that I've shown students, one simple way I've shown uh, that I try not to use the color picker, because I mean that's one way to do it. You can just use the color picker and do it, but that's not teaching you to see color and value. And that's what I try to teach my students, so that if they wanted to, they could make this woman's face any color they wanted to. So it doesn't necessarily, if I turned off all of the color in this piece and I said to my student, all right, take this black and white photo and paint this piece, paint this woman's face purple or green, then they're going to be able to do that because they understand value and color. A matter of painting this woman's face in the appropriate values of purple instead of the appropriate brown. But that might be a little too much to try to explain in a Twitch stream. You say you have traditional fine arts background, okay, but you mostly did. So if you're not going to color pick, I mean, using the color picker is one way to do it. You can just nothing. Draw out your form and color pick. And your value. Something that I show my students, and really no secret kept from. If you come into Photoshop, turn on your color dynamic, tap the word color, set your pen pressure, will allow one color based on surface. So at 100% pressure, pressing right into the screen as hard as I can, hitting that foreground color based off the swatch you see. But as I let up pressure off of the peak screen, you can do this on a Wacom tablet, Huion, X Pen, whatever, any kind of pressure sensitive surface. It's bleeding into that background value, right? So that automatically gives me my transitional values from light to dark, and then I can play with the opacity and stuff in the that's essentially how I paint stuff. Now, if you don't want to use the color, this is a little harder, but let's see if I can get it right. So if I wanted to choose this color right here on her cheek, I could eyedropper tool it and just squint, get that color, play with of meter, and I'm looking at this value range here where it says new, squinting, and I'm looking at that and I'm comparing it to that cheek color. Probably off. Not by much. By much. That's another way to do it. Like if you figure out what your shadow tone is, what your mid-tone is, and what your highlight is. So in this case, that would be area rate. That highlight, tone value, shadow. You can play within these three values for her face, and once you turn on the color dynamic, start blending the colors, you're going to get everything, all the value range. That makes sense. So from this mid-tone here, I can just start scribbling in as I let up off the brush. Now in traditional paint, this would be like raw umber plus a little mixture of burnt umber to warm it up. Because raw umber is cool, burnt umber is warm. Plus a little bit of white and maybe a drop of I don't know, alizarin crimson or something like that. And I would take that brush and I would dip into that burnt umber mixture, and I would just blend it out until I get this value range from light to dark. And when it comes to now painting this woman's face, all of the values that I need to use for her face are right in this little mixture. I think this is a simpler way of understanding it. Start off with a highlight, a mid-tone, and a dark. And then blend out your value from light to dark from there. Saying it could be any color as long as the values are correct. Yeah, any color. Any color. So like I have this palette here, and if I turn off the color, I'm just looking at values. So if I want to start off with the darkest blue, and let's say this will be my highlight is a value 9 blue. My mid-tone is value 5 blue. My darkest dark is that. Then I can create that value range. That, if I squint, that more or less gives me all the values I need to now paint this woman's face blue if I wanted. Like having this understanding of controlling light, color, and value when it comes to painting anything is essential when it comes to painting things that don't exist, painting aliens, painting creatures, robots, whatever. You know, without having to photo bash stuff because you don't know how to actually paint it. So, or understand colors and making something gray tone into full color. But I mean, I could geek out on this stuff all day, but hope that kind of answers your question. I mean, I go really more in depth in my class talking to my students about this stuff. But this was like the bare bones. Here's how to blend. Here's how to blend color. Flex. But also, as you know, depending on the color of the person, some of these values might be completely different. Some of these colors might be. If it's a really dark skinned person, under overcast skies, or even like a dark, darker blue sky, their face isn't going to be brown at all. It's going to be shades of blue. Their whole face is basically a mirror, just reflecting the sky and the ambient light around them. You know, somebody Nigerian or something like they're just their mirror. Their faces are reflective of the colors around them, and it's both beautiful and super challenging to paint. But that's where understanding the value comes in, because if you wanted to then change that light that's hitting that person's face um, to a green or a red or something like that, you can do that, and their facial features are what's going to let the viewer know that this is not a Caucasian person. This is a black person in red light, bathed in red light, green light, yellow light, or whatever it is. But it's having that understanding first of the values lets you just paint whatever. I hope that. I hope that. Sorry if it did. Kind of. I have a lot of videos in the video content for my course, my illustration course, that really go in depth on this. Students get value painting worksheets and a lot of other demo material to help drive it home, drive home the understanding of how to, rather than me just standing there screaming value, value, color, color. Oh, PG. Oh, that's great. That's great. That's good to know. Saying I even partially answered your question on how to add other colors into skin and why. Yeah. So if you're familiar, my brother is a filmmaker, and he turned me on to a TV show on HBO called. Oh, can't remember. That's horrible. Nuts now. I can't. I'm horrible with people's names, but it's a show with like all black cast, um, black lead, female character. I don't have HBO, so I can't go. But there is the point. The point is that there is a little quick documentary talking about um, how to light black skin for film. So like it's a cinematography thing. And if you look it up on YouTube, pretty sure you're able to find it. It's gonna drive me crazy. This one's I'm gonna look it up right now. I mean, Insecure. That's the show. Insecure. So there is a documentary talking about um, how the cinematographer for that show, Insecure, uses colored light, gels, and things like that to have reflected lights off of play off of darker skin, especially since a lot of the show is filmed at night in like bars and clubs and things like that. But and so they're darker venues, atmospheric lighting and stuff like that. But you still want to be able to carve out the actors' faces from the background. And like, how are you going to do that? Because they're not white; they don't glow. Like, okay? So the best thing to do is to illuminate them with reflected light, rim lights, and things like that that carve out their form and really place them in the moment. So it's something that they do not teach you in art school. I had to learn this stuff on my own, um, as you know, stuff and reasons. But I'm glad that I was able to give some insight. He's saying you scoured the internet for years. I gave you more information than I've ever been able to find in minutes. You are welcome. I'm glad for that. Well, I mean, I've got a lot of Twitch stream stuff here. You could go back into the archives and watch. If you have any other questions, I mean, I do this every Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time. So you're welcome to jump in if you have future questions. Feel free. If you're, I don't know if you are a student looking to become one, but if you do, look me up. Yes. But there's a lot of portrait paint. There's one portrait painter that I'm Knox, black portrait professional. He does a lot of presidential portraits, senators, congressmen, um, out in Washington, and painted Clinton, everybody. Just beautiful. I've learned a lot from people that studying the palette. I mean, like people like Nelson, really inspirational. Yeah, nobody really talks about. There aren't really a lot of demos, tutorials, painting. When I do these streams from students, kind of just trying to get them to realize that one day, not paint something other than Caucasian pro or your concept. What are you going to do? Understand how able to understand. Broadens your palette. And when people are digital painting stuff, and I'm guilty of this myself, kind of get caught up with the let's paint every follicle, every pore kind of thing. And that's not necessary. The whole idea of any kind of realist painting, enough of an impression of what not actually. I know there's some people out there that do that and they swear by it and they have thousands of YouTube followers or something watching them paint eyelash. So like there and paint every little wrinkle, every little crease and lip. That's because unless you're doing a really large fine art painting where you're going to get up close on this and nose is as large as head. If you're seeing this on a computer screen, you're going to see that on Instagram. That size. Nobody's ever going to see it really, really huge. All of that effort that doing crazy deep dirt in the fingernails, whatever it might cost. I learned from experience. Stop and say, why am I sitting here? Little pattern in the iris of something. Nobody's ever I share like post detail shots. That's only for my own ego. Yeah, I can render the crap out of island. Follow me on it. There is a certain amount of fun that can sitting here just going into that space. And though nobody will ever out of and sometimes it's not there. It really just comes time management. Much time you really want. Giving an impression. I'm already starting to get anal about this lip, but Saying personally, I prefer the style you're employing right now. Detail in certain spaces, certain places, and more painterly strokes in other areas. Yeah, I mean, this is thanks. This is a lot of this is inspired by impressionist painters, people that I studied in college, trying to get try to get the feel, impression, not a bit buttery. And also my whole thing is having fun, trying to make the thing not look not look digital, not screen. That I use some custom brush from concept is it's just a I don't know even just line with some that's enough something look. And like I've said in previous videos, people that get obsessive about brushes are you using? The Gumroad brushes. Oh, your brush. I could give you all my brushes. Like somebody asking like what shoes Michael Jordan wears. Matter. He'd do the he's still gonna shoot threes in dress dress shoes. It wouldn't matter. We'll probably slip. You know what I'm saying? He could do the same job in Reebok Walkers. Exact same job. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, try to make a custom brush. Try like if you see traditional traditional painters work that you like really gel with, try to do a master copy. I have a couple of doing master copies right now, trying to mimic that brushwork digitally. And I've seen tremendous growth from them within the past, say, weeks. Really. I mean, it's that fast. Because they're spending the time to try to play with the brush and mimic what they're seeing in front of them. Uh, and they're having really great results. Getting really great. So you're saying you're coming from a fine arts background, so you're well aware of different paint out there. So, like the work of Sargent, Zorn. And Zorn's the whole thing with Zorn is he's only using 5 colors. Whole Zorn palette. So if you were to try to take that Zorn palette and you'd be relying a lot on, because there's really not a lot there to work with. You're pushing every single value of red he possibly can. It not perfect, but it's good. Oh, Jiggy. So if you're still there, for streams ago, I was doing a drawing from reference of this woman. So it really walked through a lot of the stuff on figure drawing, portraiture, alignments, likenesses. Hopefully that's beneficial, guys. So usually I start off with a line. I've been trying to start off with a line drawing first for accuracy, but I think I want to just power through um, and play with this out a lot. Work it out. I really like watching some of those Instagram or on a canvas. They just go in. can still measure, still do all that stuff. Now there's two ways I've seen people. I mean, there's no wrong way. There's no perfect right way to paint it. I mean, you might see YouTube videos where somebody just dives in, starts scribbling. Color, establishing something like it's. We're dealing with a completely different palette, value. And if you guys are watching this and you're trying to figure out like palettes and stuff like that, certain skins work digitally, understand that you don't have to paint anything at 100 capacity. A lot of what I'm doing very translucent. Letting background color blue, lapping. And I keep trying to bring this back around to how you can apply this to digital painting, creature designs, and monster designs. Every human being has temperatures, cooler, warmer, and having that understanding can really help bring a sense of realism for your character design. Because if you have that color and play with making your creature, whatever your concept is, the more really believe, right down to the pores and treatment of the skin. Scaly, all that's going to come from doing these kind of demos, kind of practice sessions, just studying human skin, how you can make that work for I'm really just squinting here to try to establish my all that fun stuff. Make sure that I'm Right now I'm painting this entire thing at 33% opacity. That means anything to anybody. Not a lot of fake stuff going on here. But this is that value range I was telling Jiggy about. Working within a set range of value. I mean, at this point, able to see those values, know that I'm more or less correct. Even if I toggle it to gray, know that I'm in the park. Keep on going confidently. But like being able to see value in color is not something that you can just learn how to do overnight. It's not something you couple of days, couple of practice. You get better at it. Painting from one photo, master copies. Just makes you, proves your really just building the colors that I'm blocking it. Not as much worried about accuracy, practicing. Jiggy saying I have a problem with replicating detail as I see it, but I don't really have it. How do you replicate? Um, two ways you can do that. And I don't know how close you are to your screen or how zoomed in you are on, but if you zoom out, automatically reduces what you actually how you handle. If I zoomed in at 100%, I mean this isn't even size. That's full size. I'm nowhere near painting this thing that long. I'm a comfort zone for painting this. So the physical distance you have from the object that you're painting limit how much information you take in and how translate. Oh man, I could never be a commentator. Live television, I just forget. Physical distance. Saying I even have problem in life drawing. Every bump, muscle, and right. So that's where this term artistic license. You have to decide what is most important when you're doing a life drawing. I mean, it really depends on the amount of time that you have to do that life drawing. You're given a minute, 2 minutes, half an hour, 2 days to do that drawing or that person. That's going to determine what is most important. How much can you achieve in that amount of time? If it's not necessary to do every single lump and bump, twist stuff, then leave it out. As long as the overall shape is there, silhouette is correct, the proportions are correct, you don't need to get into, oh, here's where this back rib is, here's where the spine lump is, here's where this cellulite little divot is. Just leave that alone. No, it's not about that. Shawnee, my goodness. Well, let me first congratulate you on getting married. Holy smokes! How did you even find this stream? Thought I was kind of hidden from the world. Oh man, now people know I'm doing this. Oh man, supposed to be over here just dropping knowledge on the ever. Well, I'm good. I hope you're doing all right. Happy New Year. Oh, right. I did say that I do this on Painted in Color. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. It's like, how do people know? Um, Tony Drummond. Hey, Eric. I'm just after watching your tutorials on value fun X. Oh, Tony, so you're in the intro course. Um, okay. Yeah, yeah, good. Because everything that I'm doing right here right now, using the value chart and playing with value and talking about color, it all starts with the exercises you're doing right now for the demon book for class. So I guess the school thought I knew what I was talking about and asked me to add that into the course curriculum, like officially. So I was really happy about that, and I've seen really great growth in the students from doing those exercises on value. Because then you can leap into doing whatever you want once you understand how to control colors. Welcome to CG Spectrum. Glad to have you on board, and hope you enjoy your class. I did oust myself. Oh man. Well, so Tony, if you're still there, if you have any questions about value and stuff like that that you're hearing in the course, lesson content, um, your mentor should be able to answer it, but if you can't, just send me a message on Slack. Happy to help. fun to just do some like direct painting. Try to treat it like solid on. Saying that blue a value change or just a specifically of the um it's both. So as the skin, I mean, I'm exaggerating it a little bit more for effect in my painting than what's actually in the reference, but the skin on a Caucasian person, well, it's on everybody, depending on how light your skin, how fair your skin is. You're going to be able to see the discoloration due to capillaries around your eyes, around your nose, around your mouth, the lower half of your face. So there are temperature zones in the skin, and like on a man, those temperature zones would be like cool blue greens, desaturated blue greens around the lower half of the mouth, jawline, reds around the cheek, the nose. Again, cool blues, greens around the eyes, because the skin is thinner around your eyelids, and around your mouth. So those capillaries, I mean, you're gonna see it in your wrists too. I see it on my own wrists. Like the skin is thinner, so your veins or your capillaries and all take on a bluish greenish tint. So you're gonna see that in the face. Not as much in darker skin tones, but well, you act technically out. We technically still will see it, but it won't be blue green. It would be like shades of purple, red, violet. So yeah. So isn't blood blue until it hits air? I'm not sure if that's a myth. Do you think we're all Vulcans or something, man? Like, you've been watching too much Star Trek. But just in case I'm wrong, I'll go ask my nurse wife, and she'll stare at me like I'm an idiot. Say, well, some dude on the internet said that the blood was blue. I don't know. What did I tell you about listening? Yeah. So Tony, I do this stream every Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time, and so I usually post my reference material in the general DigiPaint Slack channel. So next week we'll be starting on something different, and I'll post the references. So you're free to paint along with me. It'll give you a great opportunity to really play with that value chart, play with light and color and all that stuff that you're first project. Um, and because it's all about applying that information to your project, whatever you're able to do with us. You don't have to share it. I let students know you don't have to share. I'm not ever asking anybody to share what they do. They're painting along with me on these streams. You could do it live with me, or you can do it after, whenever you have time. But if you're happy with what you produce in 2 hours, or however long you spend on, by all means, share it on DigiPaint, and let all the folks that skipped it know what they missed out on. I should probably save this. There you go. That would make sense. Jeez. I used to have a guy that would remind me. He'd go, Eric, in the chat. He'd go, Eric, remember to save. He's not here anymore. Messed up. Tired of staying up late. And in peace. Oh, Shawnee, that would be awesome. Welcome to jump in and join in whenever you want. So the lightest light, the highlight on this guy's face is not just a lighter shade of white or of that peachy color. It's a cool, I'm making it a cooler blue light. You can see that in on my screen here. It's not any shade of pink or brown or anything like that. Because the light source that's hitting his face in the actual reference is a cool white light source. It's dim, but it's still there. So that's what I'm trying to achieve. Always fun. Wish I had that Bob Ross mellow accent. happy little. And Jiggy, also when you're painting anything, you can also just come back into your color picker and just like if you say you have a value color. Right now I'm trying to get this bag under his okay, and like I had a color. It wasn't exactly what. Well, I can just come in, choose that color that I had picked, just adjust it, play with the actual color. I can value of the brightness, tweaking it until I get next best thing to actually mixing up paint. Okay, I think that's about it for me. The last thing I'm gonna do on this. Light that's on the cheek is gonna be there. Grr, arg. So, I hope this has been informative for somebody out there. Like these kind of studies are fun because it demystifies the whole idea of painting a whole. You can just focus on the abstractness of uh, individual parts of the face. So, got this guy all on one layer, just so versus so playing with two different skin tones here, having some fun with it. So saying skin color highlight value 9, add some blue in the highlight. You would highlight, would blue's value also have to be 9? Absolutely, because if you have a value 9, if okay, so wait, skin color highlight value 9, right? So whatever the temperature, whatever the highlight is, if you want to cool down that highlight, let's say I chose this highlight here on this guy's face, right? For example, and I'm looking at this and it's like a value 8. It's like a value 8 highlight. Yeah, it's like a value 8 highlight. If I went in here and do this at 100% opacity, have this value 8. Now, if I choose, let's say, a value 6 blue, and I try to mix that in and blend that in and cool down that highlight on his forehead, that changes the value. It cools down that highlight, yes. It also changes the value ever so slightly. So we would have to make sure that the value blue matches the value so that we get something. I mean, and you can even just take that lighter value of blue and mix it with a neutral gray and get something that is highlight head. I mean, I would never really paint this at 100% opacity. Rather, but I get nice one. So that it doesn't jump, so that that cool blue doesn't jump out. You don't want it to jump out. You want it to be a subtle color shift. Because if all of a sudden it looks like there's just a blue highlight on his face surrounded by warm, that's just gonna look weird. Gotta be it's a very delicate, very low opacity thing. I'm sorry, I nerd out on stuff like this, so if that helps answer your question. But yes, if you're trying to keep your values consistent, you can't add a darker value to a lighter value and expect that it's not going to change what you originally had. All right, good. Excellent. All right. So, turn that off. It looked like I had a little unicorn horn on his there. All right, so that's what I got for you guys this week. It's been fun to just sit here and paint. I'll have some new content or some new. I'm gonna continue doing these little studies next week. So pieces of a whole, the pieces of a whole series is gonna continue. I'll probably be playing with Caucasian and darker skin tones. So because it's always great to practice, and for anybody that to play along, welcome to paint along with. Yeah, thank you for coming, and I will talk to you all later.